What's more important, your convenience or animals' lives? What do you think?
Animals' lives.
Okay.
It's not even a real question. I love animals, and that's why I feel so bad sometimes.
My name is Natalie, and I'm here with Alexis, and we're going to be talking about veganism. And since it's Earth Day, we kind of wanted to cover a bit about climate change. And you were saying that the climate has changed before, so it might not necessarily be man-made.
Yeah, I 100% believe that, especially I think with the Ice Age and all that. And I believe in climate change, but I don't necessarily believe that it's man-made climate change.
Yeah, so I think that a lot of times when people think climate change, they just think global warming, right?
Yes.
But there's a whole bunch of other factors to it that I kind of want to go over, and how animal agriculture impacts that. Because I think a lot of people don't really know that the impact that animal agriculture has. Like, you've probably heard about the methane in the cows.
In the
right?
cows, yes,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, so that's one of the things people know, but there's a whole lot more to it. So let's start with resource use.
Okay.
So do you know how many land animals we raise and kill for food every year, if you had to guess?
No, but I know a lot, just from like TV shows and whatnot. I
Yeah.
know that, a lot of cows and pigs and chickens and all that. Just from my own consumption, I believe it's got to be a lot out there.
Yeah, exactly. It's around 80 to 100 billion a year. We're not sure the exact number, but if you think there's like around 8 billion people on Earth, so that means we kill 10 times the human population every single year.
Yeah.
So you have to think, like, what are they all eating? What are they all drinking?
And I know
the land they're
that,
taking.
The cattle industry is a multi-million, not close to billion, but multi-million industry anyway. So I definitely believe everything you're saying.
Okay, and another thing, I don't want you to just believe everything I say. Like, I tell people things so that they can research on their own as well. But yeah, I appreciate you having an open mind. So what percentage of land in the U.S., agricultural land, is dedicated toward just beef production? Do you know?
I'd probably have to say close to 70, just because I'm from New York and I know that we do beef production. But I know the coastal states do more seafood. So I would say close to 80, just based on land to sea.
Yeah, so it's actually 50%. So,
Okay.
that's still
I was
half
gonna
of our
say,
agricultural
I was gonna say
land.
a big percentage.
Yeah, and then it only provides 3% of calories, right? So that's like a pretty big resource suck.
Okay.
Yeah. So water use. Cows guzzle water, essentially.
Okay.
So if a person went vegan, it's estimated that they'll save 1,100 gallons of water a day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually have a lot of vegans in my family, and they've never pushed me to become vegan.
Okay.
But I feel like this is information they should be sharing.
Maybe. I try to avoid talking to my family about it as well,
Okay.
for the simple reason that, it's kind of, I find it easier to talk to people I don't know. So I'm not
Okay.
sure if that's why they're avoiding
You'll
it.
never have to see me again. And that way, if you, tell
you
me
get
it's
mad at
something I
me.
don't like, right?
Yeah.
No, I do have a big percentage of vegans in my family.
Yeah, that's
and
amazing.
That is just, and I've always felt more because the percentage is bigger than my meat eating side, and not just meat eating is cheese is more. I would guess vegan is maybe 10% of my family, but vegetarian is a bigger percentage, and just dairy alone, I guess.
Yeah, so I guess let's kind of define veganism.
Yes, please. 'Cause
so-
I would love to know too.
Yeah, so the way I think about it is kind of like an ethical stance against animal abuse. So kind of like a social justice movement, in the same way that, feminism is for women, veganism
Okay.
is for animals.
Because I'm definitely a feminist, so you describe
Cool.
yourself as for animals. That's why you're a vegan.
Yeah, feminist as well. So
Okay.
yeah, I think there's a lot of
Yes,
crossover.
Power to women.
Power to women. Power to women.
So as in veganism, you're vegan because of life. I would say not for people sometimes are for health reasons and whatnot, which I definitely understand too.
Yeah.
Big reason, I know this isn't veganism. I don't eat sugar. I feel like it gets my heart going and whatnot. And I know that's but that you would say more for like life than health.
So I would say if you're kind of vegan for health, that'd be more like plant-based. But I guess,
okay.
yeah, you kind of asked me why I was vegan, so I guess I'll kind of get into that story. So it started for me right after COVID. I had one vegan friend, and she posted an infographic about all the pandemics that had come from animal agriculture.
Okay.
I did more research on it and found out that 75% of new diseases jump from animals to humans. And scientists have said that if you wanted to create a pandemic, you should design a factory farm. They think the next one's probably going to come out of chicken farming. There is a bird flu ravaging the country right now. Hasn't jumped to humans yet, but it's killing eagles, and it's a mess.
And I guess you can say no source cited, but rumor is that COVID is from a bat of something like that type.
Yeah. We're not 100% sure, but even throwing COVID out, Spanish flu came from a hog farm in Kansas. So it's just kind of across the board. The pandemics are going up and up, and we did not deal with this one very well, I don't think. So I think a really fatal pandemic would be a lot worse. What do you think?
Okay. No, 100%. And I think it's how everyone wants to deal with it as well, is politics aside, is we all want to save each other. And you got to do what you got to do to save each other.
Yeah. But then, so that's kind of how I went down the road to veganism. But what really changed my mind on it was seeing an activist talk to people like this, and then also watching a documentary of what the animals go through. Have you ever watched slaughterhouse footage or anything like that?
So I have seen a couple on Netflix. I can't quote names or anything, but I have definitely seen some. I remember one being strictly about cows and what they go through, and like I said, we live in upstate New York, and it's and you can just buy not only little cows, but you can buy baby chickens and all that. And I'm a big animal lover, period. We rescued both of our dogs through rescue, and I think you need to rescue all the animals, and
I 100% agree.
If you don't have to see what it goes through before it's on your plate, it makes it easier. And that's sad to say, but it's true.
Absolutely. There's this huge level of disconnection. Not only that, but the meat industry is constantly putting out propaganda. They're like, oh, it's humane, it's ethical, it's local. But let me ask you this. Do you think if you love animals, does it make sense to pay for them to be chopped up?
Simple answer, no.
Okay. Give me the complex answer.
The complex answer is that animals definitely shouldn't be chopped up, but I also believe in a humane killing, as controversial as that can be to say.
What does a humane killing look like?
I think it's you're on the highway, you're driving, and not swerving for the animal who you're going to hit anyway, and hitting them head on.
Oh, you mean an accidental killing?
Yes.
Oh,
and that's the same thing with slaughterhouses, is we're not going to defeather them first or do all that stuff first, is everything, kill them and then do what we need to do.
So I guess kind of the difference between the highway example and the slaughterhouse would be on the highway, there's no intent to kill that animal, right? But in a slaughterhouse, they're being forced into the slaughterhouse against their will. And the part about the feathering, what's interesting is that, the chickens are supposed to be dead before they get to the boiling water that loosens their feathers. They're not always
and that's
dead.
The key to education. I didn't know that.
Right.
I feel like you hear things as they're defeathered first, and that's, I think education is in America the biggest thing, and that gets into all other topics of everything.
Totally. And
education.
I'll also ask you this: what does humane mean? If you looked it up in the dictionary.
I've never looked it up, but if I did, I would say humane means the least harmful way before being done. Is what I would think in my head. If you were humanely to kill a human, it would be the least harm I would feel before I am deceased.
Gotcha. So when you do look it up, it means compassionate or benevolent.
What's benevolent mean? Can you
benevolent, basically the same as compassionate, nice.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if there's a nice way to kill somebody.
That's what I was about to ask
you. To me, I feel like the least pain felt before it's over.
So I guess, let me ask you this. What would be nicer or more compassionate, to kill an animal or to not kill an animal?
Definitely not kill.
Okay.
I think that's an easy answer.
Yeah. Do you think the word nice could ever go in front of slaughter? I was slaughtered nicely.
No.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. I love
how
open-minded you are and kind of willing to engage with these questions. I really appreciate it.
No, 100%. And I'm not saying meat eating. I think it has a lot to do with how I was raised.
Oh, absolutely.
And me eating meat doesn't mean I'm I think about it as much, but I think these questions are important so people do think about it.
I totally agree. So what do you think is more important, like your taste pleasure or animals' lives?
Animals' lives, just because I think of my dogs, and I do think of Eastern countries and how Westerners have a hard time going to like China and Europe in general, because I think of my dogs.
Yeah.
100% every time. And they say that like fish have such little brains, so a lot of people do become pescatarian. And to me, at the end of the day, who am I to decide how big those things are?
Yeah. Like, who are we? Like, what gives us the right to kind of determine who should live or die?
Yes.
Yeah.
Who are we?
Yeah, and they've done studies on fish that show some of them can use tools to hunt, like with clamps and stuff. And so what do you think? There's like a moral difference between a dog and like a pig or a cow?
100%.
What is it?
I think that my dog is going to cuddle me. But at the same time, I do see on Facebook, I think social media in general has offered a big platform of how people have pigs as pets and they welcome them into their home. So as much as I want to say there's a difference, doesn't mean I'm the person to say that.
Yeah, and like there are videos of people like cuddling with their pigs and like they're so cute, and pigs are actually smarter than dogs,
Yes. And that's something, well, one, I didn't know that until just now, but I've seen those videos of, people welcoming pigs into their house. And like I said, we live in upstate New York and there's millions and millions of cow farms, and I don't know why, but they're not called cattle like they are out here and like up in the western states. It's cattle farms. Nope, ours are called cows. I think maybe because they're used more for milking than slaughtering. But at the same time, it's that cow sits out all winter and my dog's nice and warm in my bed. I don't know, but I know that I'm glad you're talking about it.
Okay.
I don't.
That's amazing. No, I really
agree with you on a lot. You probably want to get something more controversial.
No, this is great. This is great.
I'm just welcome for the education and. Not to say at the end of this I'll become a vegan, but I definitely understand why people are. My best friend is a vegan, and
so do you know why people are vegan and not vegetarian?
I know my best friend is no. I want to say no. My best friend's more vegan because of her boyfriend of 5 years. She was always vegetarian.
Gotcha.
And she became vegan when she met him 5 years ago in college. But I don't know exactly why.
Yeah,
so I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, before I was vegan, I was like, I can kind of understand why vegetarians exist, but like why, like what's wrong with, drinking milk and like taking eggs? Like the animals aren't dying, right? But do you know why cows produce milk in the first place?
Babies like humans is my best guess.
You're 100% right, but like I didn't know that. I just like thought they had a bunch of milk,
Oh.
How do you think they get pregnant in the first place?
The male cow.
That's what you would think, but it's actually the farmer does it. They ejaculate bulls, and then they get the semen, and then they insert it.
I've seen that on Facebook. Like you go into the pen, that's an artificial.
That's called a cattle crush
gesture, but the artificial.
No, it's gross.
Yeah.
So
and they do that with horses too. That's why their semen is worth so much money. Is they'll do an artificial thing
for like breeding and stuff.
Yes. Which I'm 100% against.
So let's say,
Breeding
so the cow has.
Captivity is, that's the first reason I sat down with you is all breeding in captivity. Doesn't make sense.
And animal agriculture relies on it heavily. But okay, so say the cow has their baby.
Okay.
What happens to the baby?
The baby goes in the little pen thing with the plastic doghouse, I call it. And it's sad, and yes, I've seen pictures. They're in like, it literally looks like a plastic doghouse.
Yeah.
And they're there.
And they're not with their mother, right?
No.
Because they would drink the milk.
Yes.
What about the male babies? Since the females are going to be used for dairy.
I don't know.
Do you know why veal exists?
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I don't, but now I'm getting a clue.
Yeah. So typically they're either killed right away or killed for veal, or sometimes sold to like beef farmers and raised. But they're a different breed from the cows raised for beef, so they don't have quite the right specifications.
Okay.
Yeah. So
which makes sense because that's why they have those especially more towards the west, they have those auction spots where it's you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, absolutely.
and it's kind of like a car auction, but it's cow. I want to say cow, but cattle.
Yeah,
auction.
or cow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just used to cows because where I'm from, but cattle auction, and they go for so much money. Okay.
Yeah. So let's see. Do you have like any questions for me? I feel like I'm just kind of like giving you information. Like, is there anything about veganism that you want to know and don't? Like, what about eggs?
So, yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't understand eggs. I don't get it because I live in a place where there is a lot of local farms. We have a local choice farmers market where I'm from, and all those things. And it's local eggs we go and pick up, and they're cheaper than Stewart's. So to me, it doesn't seem as bad. Why are they costing so much less? If it's a problem.
Yeah, so I'm not sure why they cost less, but let's kind of start with industrial egg farming because more people, get those types of eggs.
Yeah.
So when chickens are born into the egg industry, they're either going to be male or female. They need the females to lay more eggs.
Okay.
What do you think happens to the males?
They're brought up to produce more eggs.
Well, they can't lay eggs.
Oh, yes. Good point. So chicken on my plate.
So there's, it's kind of similar with the cows. Like there's egg-laying hens, then there's broiler chickens, which are raised for meat, different breeds. So the males born into the egg industry are not big enough to be sold for meat. They're not going to grow fast enough. Okay. So they're typically killed like their first day of life. They're put on these conveyor belts, and the males go into this giant blender called a macerator. They're blended up alive.
I definitely feel like what was that documentary I've seen on Netflix? It was like
Food Inc.
Corn Inc. Food Inc. I was gonna say Corn Inc. Food Inc. And it had a lot to do with the corn industry, and then goes into So I definitely think I understand what you're talking about.
Yeah. So what do you think about blending up male chicks?
I shouldn't laugh because I think it's sad, but at the end of the day, I think I know what's on my plate, and I think I don't think twice about it when I should.
Right. Yeah, like we were saying earlier about the disconnection.
Yeah, so when I think personally when you buy cigarettes, how there's that big logo on there. When you order wings from a store, there's no logo, there's no nothing.
There should be, right?
There should be, especially when you think about not only what's it's doing, but again, when you go back to methane and cows of what it's adding to your air. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. So as far as like kind of the local eggs, you have to look at where the chickens are coming from in the first place.
Okay.
A lot of the time, the farmers, they're still going to kill the males because they sell the egg-laying hens.
Should check into that because we live out and we literally pick up at the farms we buy from.
Ask them what they do with their male chicks. And then the other thing I like to tell people is that chickens in the wild lay 10 to 20 eggs per year. We've selectively bred chickens to lay 300 eggs per year, so it's hard on their body. It causes osteoporosis.
Yes, I remember watching like the McDonald's Tyson documentary on that. I do try and educate myself, but also at the same time I want to say that none of those documentaries have led me to become vegetarian or vegan because here I am doing this interview and definitely just had some fried alligator. My boyfriend has never had it before. And I think education's the biggest way on, not saying I'll never give it up, but maybe become a Thursday eater of meat and go from there.
And then the other thing I like to talk about is like, so say you do want to reduce. I think that's great. Like that's amazing. That's a great step. But then you have to ask yourself, like, say you only eat chicken once a week, right? There's still an individual chicken. To that chicken, doesn't matter if you eat chicken once a week or 5 times a week to that individual chicken.
So to that individual chicken, I would say no, but it depends to me how many other people are only eating chicken once a week.
You mean like if more people are eating less meat, you're inclined to eat less meat?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. But I also understand that to some extent we all need to slow down, but I don't necessarily mean stop.
Okay. So kind of going back to the animals, on a scale of 1 to 10, how badly do you think they're treated in the meat and dairy industry?
Probably like an 8, just because I know all animals are. I'm a big PETA lover, and I just think animals are treated awfully. But in the meat industry, I know there's got to be at least out of 1 to 10, a 2, killing them and treating them fast and.
Yeah, I think that kind of goes back to the humane thing, right?
Humane thing, and then you said yes, and then you said, is killing animals humane? And I want to say no,
Right, but you've spent your
But then
whole
I
life
understand-
eating,
yes,
so it takes a lot of
yes.
thinking and a lot of unlearning, and that's the other thing about documentaries is they're
Unlearning
great.
Was a big unlearning is a big word, and that I don't mean to cut you off, but
whenever.
unlearning is big because I
Yeah.
think we've been taught. I mean, I've been eating. My first meal was mashed potatoes and fried chicken.
Well, you can still have mashed potatoes at least.
Yes, yes,
And there's vegan fried chicken now. It's really good.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So my best friend, like I said, is a vegan. We always send her vegan things, and when she comes, we do shish kebabs, and we only do them vegetable shish kebabs.
Those are so good.
Yeah, and it's not anything like she would ever care if we ate meat.
Yeah.
It's more of like, why ever even like, who cares? We can all eat this. It's something we can all eat
Yeah.
and not ever make somebody feel left out from not having to separate what they have to pick from the pile.
And I think it shows respect. Like when I go somewhere and there is meat, I don't like being around it because I
Okay.
get flashbacks to slaughterhouse footage,
Yeah.
and like I do so much
And
work
you've
with
seen
animals,
all the-
and I don't like. I feel like, especially people I've talked to about it, and knowing how they feel, and that I prefer not to. So I don't know if your friend feels the same way at all, but that's kind of my thoughts on it. Well,
She doesn't, because she was definitely
Yeah.
raised. We went to school together since like middle school. But to me, it's a choice she chose, so I will always respect that.
yeah, that's great. And how hard do you think it would be to be vegan on a scale of 1 to 10?
I would say what is one like 10 being the hardest?
Being the hardest, yeah.
Okay, yeah, like an 8 or 9.
Okay,
I
yeah.
definitely think it would be very hard. I think she
Yeah.
makes a conscious decision every day.
Sure. So before I went vegan, I would have said something similar to
Yeah.
that. I am incredibly lazy, like I don't like working hard or really looking stuff up. So yeah, I'm really lazy and I love convenience. When I went vegan, I found it to be very, very easy. And then I interview every vegan I meet, I ask them that question.
Okay.
They always say like a 1 or 2 out of 10. So it's one of those things you kind of build up in your mind because you think like, oh, I have to change everything I eat. But that's not true. My favorite food before I was vegan was nachos. My favorite food is still nachos. I just use cashew cheese and black beans instead of beef. So like you can just kind of change what you're eating and make it vegan. It's pretty cool.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
no, totally. Not gonna lie, even after you said that, still thinking the opposite. And I
Right,
think
right,
that's
right.
one of those things
Yeah.
I have to do it to believe it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, people have told me like, oh, something's not hard, and then sometimes I'll try it and it is,
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely would encourage you to try.
Especially, I'm somebody who has had vegan food. I've had
Yeah.
vegan pizza. I've had a vegan Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I remember going to my aunt's and multiple years that was all vegan. And to me, it does seem extra and harder.
Yeah.
But I also believe what you're saying is
And the other thing you want to ask yourself is, what's more important, your convenience or animals' lives? What do you think?
animals' lives. It's not even a real question. I love animals, and that's why I feel so bad sometimes.
Yeah, I'm not trying to make you feel bad or anything.
I'm not saying you are. I just.
But yeah, these are kind of things that we don't necessarily think about because we don't have to. So
I think that's a key word is have to.
Yeah.
When it's right there, I don't have to think about it.
Right. But these animals have to be exploited, and yeah, it's a shame. Well, do you have any more questions for me? Anything specific? I know I've kept you for a while. Looks like you.
I think I don't have questions. You just gave me a lot to think about and to realize that it's not always about. I feel like I've always done things for health reasons in my life. You do the keto and the paleo, all for health reasons. But what are you doing for someone else? And that's a selfless act. Is being a vegan for not health reasons, for animals reasons, and it's hard as a human to become selfless.
Yeah, but it's valuable, right?
I think after it's done.
Yeah.
I can't say that now, but after
Right,
it's
right.
done, it is valuable.
Do you think you would see yourself going vegan in the future?
I do. I think I could see myself going vegan.
Well, if I gave you a card with it's got this. It's a 22-day vegan challenge called Challenge 22. You can sign up for it. It's all free, and someone walks you through like all the aspects. The nutritionist, like if you ever need any help, they tell you how to find options in your city. Is that something you'd be interested in?
100%.
Awesome, amazing. High five. Thank you so much. It's been a true pleasure, and yeah, I really appreciate you talking to me.
Thank
yeah.
you for not judging me and just.
Yeah, I mean, I ate meat for years, so like
Yeah.
it's I think you're right.
Can
It's
I
all
ask
about
how old you
education.
are?
Yeah, I'm 32.
Okay, I'm 24, so
Oh wow!
and you've only been
I
a
wish I
vegan
had
for
gone
2
vegan when I was
years, so-
24.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Thank you. Yeah, I would love to take a card and go from there.
All right, let's do it.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and become a patron today. If you missed yesterday's video, click to the left.